Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another video right here on Free Will Photos. Today, we're taking a look at the Generative Eraser tool alongside the basic or the standard eraser tool that comes with Luminar Neo. Now, in order to have access to the generative erasing tool, you will have to have either an annual pass to Luminar Neo or an active subscription. If you are a lifetime license owner or you're looking to purchase Luminar Neo as a lifetime license, then the annual pass is the way that you will gain access to these tools. But if you're on a subscription, you're going to have access to these tools either way. With that being said, Luminar is on sale right now. If you'd like to save a little bit of money when upgrading or updating or activating an annual pass, then consider using the coupon code FWP20. That code is only going to be valid until June 30th, 2026. You will save some money when you're shopping over on the Luminar website, and I do make a commission from everyone who uses it, but it's at no extra cost to you. I greatly appreciate everyone who does. So let's go ahead and jump into the computer and take a look at these erasing tools. All right, so here we are inside of the computer, and I have this photo that I took while I was out at one of the photo walks in the B&H Build Expo. And so what I need to do is kind of get rid of these people in the background. And this just lends itself really well, I believe, to the generative erase tool. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and we're going to minimize this again. And we will click and drag and then just come over here to the GenEraser and drop it in here. And so what Luminar does is it's going to render the file into the cloud and give us an opportunity to get rid of some of those distractions that are in the photo. I do recommend that you do this before you do anything else to your images. And this is just the way that I like to work. And so as you can see here, the tool is pretty simple and straightforward. We have a brush and then we have a series of settings down here at the bottom. If I go ahead and make my brush a little bit larger using the bracket key, I'm just going to paint over all of these areas that I don't really want in the photo. And what Luminar is going to do is look at these areas and it's going to try to correct that. And so I'll make my brush size just a little bit smaller, come over here and paint this area in. Now, I'm trying not to get too much of the subject in this area that I'm selecting, but it's okay if a little bit of the subject gets in there. This is going to be one of those, I guess we'll call it trial and error type of things. All right. But the cool thing is, as long as you have a Luminar Neo subscription, and I should be clear, as long as you have the annual pass, all right, you don't have to have a subscription to Luminar Neo, but in order to use the generative erase tool, you do need to have a subscription to the annual pass. Now, you can buy Luminar Neo one time, and if you are purchasing Luminar Neo right now, you will get access to all these tools for a year, as long as you purchase it. However, if you decide, like myself, I have the annual pass that I use, and I purchased Luminar many years ago when it was initially released. And so I have access to these tools because I continue to renew that pass every year. It's kind of like Luminar's version of upgrading the software every year, if you will. And so I'm going to go ahead and click erase now that I have all of those selected. And we're going to let Luminar do its thing. It's going to look and it's going to try to fill in those places. Now, this does happen in the cloud. So, however you feel about getting your photos analyzed or edited inside of the cloud, that's something you will have to take into consideration if you choose to go this route. But for me, in this particular image, I'm not overly concerned about putting this into the cloud. And so you can see what it renders back there. Now, at first glance, this doesn't look all that great. And so what I want to do is go ahead and just hit erase again and let Luminar reprocess this. Now, the cool thing is this doesn't use any credits. As long as you have that annual pass that I was referring to, or if you happen to be on one of the subscription models for Luminar, then you're going to get access. You can run this as many times as you want. Now, the reason why I want to showcase this is because sometimes the generative erase just won't render the things that you really want, but it gets you pretty close. And so now I think that this has worked out a little bit better. It's not perfect. So we're going to go ahead and make it a little bit better. Now that it has rendered everything, I think we're good to go. I could go ahead and click reset selection, and then I can repaint over some of the portions of the image here, such as this area. And I can paint in all of this. Let me make my brush a little bit larger just so we're saving a little bit of time. And then I'll even paint over this area right here. Again, it doesn't have to be overly precise. Now, I do want to get rid of this section, and I think that that will be good. So let's hit erase and see how well it cleans up all of those areas that we just added in. Now, again, you don't have to be precise when you are working with Luminar Neo and the generative erase tool. You just have to be somewhat good. And look at that. That looks a lot better. And so I'm going to hit reset selection. And what the reset selection does is it gets rid of those red overlays or your selected areas. And so when those go away, it allows us to repaint. And so I'm just going to paint over this little area right here. And you're probably wondering like, well, Chris, why aren't you getting rid of this portion down here? Well, that's part of her reflection, and I don't need to get rid of her reflection because that's her. She should be in the window there being reflected. Everyone else that was along on this photo walk with me, I do not want to be in that look. All right. And so we'll go ahead and hit erase one more time, and hopefully this time it will be done. And then I'll show you how we're going to finish it here inside of Luminar Neo. Okay, so it didn't quite give me what I wanted, but I don't want to keep running it through the generative erase. And so what I'm going to do is just come up here, hit save. And this is to save it back to my computer because, again, this does render in the cloud. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. We're going to go to edit. I now have access to start working on the file. Now, the downside to making all of those generative erase modifications is you do lose the raw capability. But I do find that I get better results even if I do lose the raw capability when I send it to generative erase first. Now, if you have a different mileage, then please let me know in the comment section because I will never claim to be the expert at this. I'm just telling you how I use the tool. I'm always open to hearing how others are using it. So now that we have the image done with the generative erase, I got it opened up inside of the edit module. Now, I will say, if you plan to use a preset, you're going to want to apply that preset before you start cleaning up all of these other areas that we are focused on. But for today's video, I'm just going to go ahead and focus primarily on cleaning up the image. And so I'm just going to hit the edit and we're going to jump right into the essentials. And then we're going to grab the erase tool. Now, this is different than the generative erase. All right. The generative erase is focused on using the cloud-based AI tools in order to remove things and replace it with pixels that may not have ever existed in the file. Whereas this erase tool is just looking at the image and it's making the best guess or the best judgment to take information that's in the photo and then replacing the areas that you want to have replaced. So if I click on erase, I get a tool. It's really easy to use. You have select and deselect. We're going to start over here on the right side, and I'm just going to get rid of some of these weird little spots that are in here. So we'll go ahead and erase these spots here. And it works pretty quick, and you don't have to worry about, again, having a subscription. This is just going to work local to your computer. And so once that's done, we'll come over here and we'll tackle this more difficult area. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if you get a little bit of the subject in there. And this is a trial and error type of thing, but If I go ahead and just paint over there, you'll notice that the red overlapped her arm. And so it's using those pixels from her arm. Well, I don't want to do that. So we're going to undo. I'm going to leave the selection as it is, but I'm going to zoom in to the area where we're working. Now, unlike the generative eraser, where it works a little bit smarter and it understands the pixels and things, with the standard eraser tool, you want to make sure that you get a good selection. And so I need to go ahead and back this off of her arm. And so I'm just going to paint this away. And I'm just using a mouse here, by the way. So this is how easy it is to use Luminar Neo. And I really do enjoy using it. There's no doubt about that. And so now that I've painted that away from our arm, let's go ahead and hit erase one more time. And this time we should get a better render of the area. So we're still having some difficulties here. Let's go ahead and undo that. Maybe paint this away just a bit more, because we do want to back this off of the arm. That's all that we're doing here. And so maybe like that. Now if we hit erase, we should get a better render. There we go. A lot better. And so if we zoom out, now this looks like a more cleaned up overall photo, and it's ready for us to start editing and stylizing. So there's how you can use the generative eraser tool alongside the standard eraser tool inside of Luminar Neo. Again, Luminar is on sale, and if you like to save a little bit of money when picking it up, consider using the coupon code FWP20 when you check out. I do make a small commission from everyone who uses it, but it's at no extra cost to you, and so it's a win-win and a great way of supporting the channel. I love to hear your comments, your thoughts, and your questions about Luminar Neo down in the comment section below. Until the next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.